Hi, everyone. So today's guest is a little bit of a character. His name is Joey Gaynor, and I actually have never met Joey. This will be my first time actually talking to Joey, and he was referred to me by my good friend Craig Mitchell, who has the show Off the Cuff. He's been on my show. Joey was a comedian at the Comedy Store in its heyday, and he worked as a doorman for Mitzi Shore and Mitzi's whole family. So he has a lot of great stories about all the comedians from that time period, which I find very fascinating. Yeah, I'm excited to meet Joey. I think you'll like him. He's kind of a character from what I can see, and he loves to talk. So you'll see my guest, the comedian, Joey Gaynor.
Welcome to my podcast where I'll be speaking with guests candidly about interesting topics. So join me on Candid with Kimbra.
Today, my guest is Joey Gaynor. Joey Gaynor.
Yes.
And
I still am.
And he still is Joey Gaynor. This is our first time meeting, and we were introduced through my very dear friend Craig Mitchell, which is your dear friend, right?
Yeah, Craig Mitchell, who not only is Craig my dear friend, but he is a fine director, writer, and he hosts a great online show, and you can also get it on Strong Island TV. And that is, let me see, because I did spill some tea on it, but it's Off the Cuff Cooking with Craig Mitchell. And I plug the show, not only because it's a great show, but I'm on it several times.
That's so funny. Guess what? I'm going to be working on it on Monday.
Oh, you'll have a great time. He's a great director.
I know. I love Craig.
I keep telling him to try to get into directing. See if you can, even an AD and move your way. I mean, it's not easy. Nobody, especially when you're older, but he's really good.
Craig is a good writer. He's a good editor. I don't know if you know that. He's an excellent editor.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just an all-around swell guy. No.
Well, what's funny is you see, when I worked with Robert Townsend, when he wanted me to do something, he didn't demand or yell. He'd come over to me and go, "Hey, I need you to go in this direction. Can you figure something out? And just go ahead and we'll shoot it a few times." And that's what Craig will do. After we do the lines and that, he'll say, "Okay, play with this or do that." And very quietly, there's no screaming. He knows what he wants to get. And unlike other directors I worked with, he gets you in the direction of what he wants.
Right.
And other guys I've worked with who are known directors, and I don't want to get in any trouble and never work again.
They're going to blackball you.
I don't care about cancel culture. I worry about directors, cinematographers, producers. If they don't like you, that's it. You're shit. That's over. It's over.
Sure.
Get a paper hat and go, you want relish on that? Hey, so
Yeah, I know. So I just wanted to go back a little bit, but Craig was telling me that you used to work at the Comedy Store.
Yes.
Right? Before I forget, did you know, because I listened to Mark Maron's podcast, WTF.
Yeah, great. The godfather of podcasts.
I know. I aspire to be like him. I listen to him all the time. And so he's helped me. You know how when you're singing, I'm a singer also, when you first start singing, you emulate people, but then you kind of bring it into your own, just like with acting.
Right.
And so with podcasts, he's one of my mentors.
Yeah.
Anyway, so was he a nice guy? Did you get to know him very well?
Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew Mark when he came to the Comedy Store back in the mid 80s. Might have been a little earlier than that, but I remember him because he was staying up at Crest Hill where it was like comedy, the Comedy Hotel. A lot of comedians stayed. Yeah, Mitzi Shore bought Frank Senis's old mansion up above the Comedy Store, and her idea was she always wanted an art colony because Mitzi painted, played piano. She was very into art. And that's why the Comedy Store, sometimes you see a comedian who you weren't thinking was very funny, but she was letting them try to develop their art. Of course, if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But anyway, Mark lived up there, and I would hang frequently up there. I lived in Whittier, California, like 25 miles out. So I spent a lot of nights there when I worked on the door. and I would be pretty much tired and just really wore down from Monday night potluck and really really drunk from the open bar that I had.
Wow.
Yeah, we would get looped. Oh God Almighty! I don't. We were as the guy says in the Beatle documentary. Oh yeah, he was legless. We would get smashed. I don't know how I drove home some nights. It's horrifying, but
You
it was a
comedians.
time, huh?
You comedians. I hear so many stories of self-medication.
Well, here's a funny thing about comedy. I had a cousin who was a big time wrestler. He's a big WWE star at one time, and he went under the name Adrian Adonis, and we were talking about the road and everything. His real name was Keith Frank, but we were talking about the road, and I said, it's funny how comedy and pro wrestling, in a way, they kind of coincide as far as you're in front of all these people cheering and screaming, and then you're in a hotel room with nobody.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd be in a club, like in my situation, I'd be in a club and I'd be 400, 500 people in some of the bigger rooms at the time that we were playing. And it's great. Yeah, two shows, roaring applause and shaking hands. And then afterwards, you go back to the hotel room and you're alone. So what happens? You call one of the other comics or the other two comedians that are on the show, and you get together and you drink and you smoke grass or whatever, and you unwind, and uh uh it it's it it was but we were talking about the loneliness of when you're alone, after all that cheering and everything. And it hit him. He said, "Yeah, I know. How about that?" He says, "I like when it's quiet." I said, "Well, you're in front of 14,000 people. Sometimes I too am in front of 14." So, but yeah, I began to notice that after being on the road a couple of years. I mean, I would get nice hotel rooms and everything. You get cable,
Mhm.
headline news. Remember, well, you're too young to remember headline news with Gordon Graham. Gordon Graham used to be on headline news late at night, and he
Oh,
was like Grandpa. He would tell you the news, and you'd just go, "Okay, Grandpa," and go right out. He had that voice. It's,
right, right.
well, today in Washington.
Yeah, I don't remember him, but
No, he was. They changed when they changed headline news to like everything is a crime drama. There was no more Gordon Graham. He was gone.
mm.
He was the overnight guy. He was great.
So when you were working at the Comedy Store, were you actually doing stand-up? Were you,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I started doing stand up there in 1976. Uh, in 1975, I got to see Freddie Prinze twice. The Star Chico and the Man. I saw him at the amphitheater open for Helen Reddy. I am woman, here you are. Well, men can sing that now. And,
But yeah,
and I just thought of that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
I,
become it's not just a woman's anthem anymore.
no, it's and there's a. But anyway, I saw him over there, and then the KHJ Radio, uh, which was uh, every year had a big Christmas show. This one they did at the Anaheim Convention Center, and they had the stars at the time were Tony Orlando and Dawn and Cher and Freddie Fender, who was great. I mean, the guy was great. I mean,
Mhm.
he sang "Till the Next Teardrop Falls."
Oh,
Um,
okay. Kind of a
yeah,
country star?
yeah, he was a
Yeah.
country. Yeah, I'll be there until the next
Oh,
teardrop falls.
you're a
Yes,
singer too,
I
huh?
think I just woke up my Latino neighbors with that. Freddie Fender's back. No, so anyway,
Wow. So you were doing stand-up in this, what?
ah,
You,
ah,
you were doing
yeah, that
stand-up
goes out to you, Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Lopez. Okay, go
the
ahead.
night what is that thing that what's his name used to do with the nose, the old comedian gosh, my grandmother Good night, Mrs. Appleby. Oh no, that's
Oh
Groucho
no, no,
Marx.
that was Jimmy Durante.
Oh, Jimmy Durante. Yeah, yeah.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. That was his wife.
Right, right.
Yeah, because she died, and he would always say that.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, Jimmy Durante.
Yeah, the nose. So
I know.
um
I'm,
you were doing stand up between the 70s and the 80s
I
around.
yeah. I in '75, like I said, I saw Freddie Prinze twice. I saw Richard Pryor doing his album tours. It's something I said at the Schubert Theater in L.A., the
Mm.
old Schubert Theater in Century City. And my uncle was a big time ticket broker, Troy Tickets. So I got tickets to everything. And, hey, you want to go to this? Here, you want to go to that? So 3 nights I went to see Richard, and I always loved Richard Pryor. He was my favorite comedian as a kid. I saw him on Merv Griffin, and that was it. Richard Pryor. He looked like some dude in my neighborhood. That's exactly what, because I'm from Newark, New Jersey, in the Central Ward, and Richard Pryor reminded me of a guy in my neighborhood, a young cat who was a really funny cat,
He
and
seemed to be the idol of a lot of comedians of
yeah, because he
from the
was
70s,
just
80s.
amazing. His his spontaneity was I mean, just ridiculous, and his whole outlook on comedy was, I was sitting with him one night. I was opening for him at the Comedy Store, and I was sitting with him one night after the show in the main room. And I looked at him and I said, Richard, there's this tragedy and that tragedy going on in the world, and the thing in Lebanon and all that. I said, how do you make any of that funny? I mean, how do you turn that into comedy? And he looked at me, took a drag on his cigarette. He looked at me, and I'm waiting for this 3 hour philosophical answer. And he looks at me and he goes, well, see, you put the funny in. Just put the funny in, and then you could talk about anything you want to talk about. And
Right.
he was it 4 words, put the funny in. And that's where, and I've made the mistake of not doing that, not realizing I'm pontificating, and I catch myself and get the hell out of there. I don't want to do that. That's, some comedians will do that sometimes. We get wrapped up in what we're thinking about and not what. But anyway, he was absolutely right, because when the DC-10 crashed, they were doing jokes about it. They put another number on it. Now they're DC-101s. They're putting it back up. Anyway, that's a long time ago. But the thing was, there was some stuff going on at that time. In '83, there was the bombing of the barracks in Lebanon. American soldiers were killed, and this thing and that thing and that. And I got to have, and that was, not that I made a joke about the bombing of killing of soldiers. I didn't do that, but I mean, there was a lot of heavy stuff going on. In '83 was an interesting year, and I was working with him, and then I was working with on the road with Slappy White and Pete Barbuti and the Smothers Brothers, and a lot of these guys. You think like, oh, they're old. You go back and watch their videos, and even young cats. I tell them, go back and watch this stuff, man. You want to write jokes? Watch what they did, and they're
Right.
like, wow, you were right. I said, yeah. I said, look, if you want to see a movie that has never lost step with the current times in any decade, Duck Soup by the Marx Brothers.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Yeah, that is a
My dad
political.
used to not make me, but he'd encourage me. He'd say, "Oh, the Marx Brothers is going to be on tonight." And when I was just a little kid, and that was like a big thing, he'd make me watch that. The Marx
That's
Brothers.
good. He's a smart man.
Yeah,
See,
and Sid Caesar.
yeah. Oh, Sid Caesar.
Right.
Sid Caesar. I got to see him get roasted at the Friars Club.
Mm.
And when it was all done, everybody was walking around, and there's Sid Caesar standing up there behind the dais all by himself. And I walked up and I went, Mr. Caesar, my name is Joey Gaynor, and I'm a young comedian, and I do this because you, and that's why. Because when I see and you're there, and then the guy will say something, and I won't listen because I'm watching you,
Hmm.
because you are the reason. And then there's no other, because we bring the love. And then what you do is, because he would talk gibberish, he would. And then he just started laughing, and he went, I said, I've been watching you since I'm 4, the old Sid Caesar show when I was a little kid. So, because one thing we had in the house, I'll never forget that, is we always had television. I got friends. I grew up, we didn't have TV till I was 9. Well, your parents were drinking. And we always had, my father, when television came out, long before I was born, I think in the late 40s, he went out and bought a Dumont 10-inch TV, and the whole neighborhood would come to the house to watch wrestling or whatever else was on that night. And it's very funny because if you've ever seen a Dumont from the 40s, it's a little box, it's furniture with a little rounded screen, black and white, and knobs and everything. And I had one similar to that, and I used to run my video machine on it.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I put my VHS machine would work with it, and I put movies on like that. My friends would be cracking up. Oh, look at
So
this.
I wanted to know more about Mitzi Gaynor. How well did you get to know her? Not
I
Mitzi
never
Gaynor.
knew Mitzi Gaynor. You mean
Sorry, not Mitzi Gaynor. Mitzi.
No, I knew Mitzi from the first time I ever went on stage. I went on stage after I hung around the Comedy Store for quite a few months.
Yeah.
In March of '76, I finally had the guts to go on stage. Well,
Mm.
I started to get the guts a couple of months before, and I talked to these are the guys that were just hanging out at the time.
Yeah.
Jay Leno, Dave Letterman, Jimmy Walker, Paul Mooney, um, what's his name? Tim Reed from Venus Flytrap from WKRP in Cincinnati. Really funny guy. Tom Dreesen. Uh, we had guys like Rodney were popping in. Steve Martin.
Wow.
Robin Williams was there eventually a year or two later, and he just exploded. But I got to hang around with guys that had been doing it for 10 years. And this was their jazz room. This is where they came to play their instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what attracted me so much because I'd always been a singer in high school in bands. And then when I got out, I'd go to jazz clubs. We'd go to a jazz club and see that. And, and it was usually it was people that you'd never heard of. You'd have to be a jazz enthusiast. So when I went to the Comedy Store the first time, it's like, wow, nobody knows who these guys are. I mean, I do because I knew who quite a few of them were: Marvin Braverman and Jimmy Walker and Steve Landisberg and Lenny Schultz and Mike Preminger and Dave Brenner. Uh, uh, I really did know who they were because a couple of years before that, it was in 71 or 72. I was watching the Bill Cosby show
Mm-hmm.
on a Thursday night, and I was bored to tears. He was in some kind of, or somebody was in like a spider suit bouncing up and down on wires.
Mm-hmm.
And I flipped the dial and I went to the PBS channel, channel 13, WNET in New Jersey. But
Mm-hmm.
they had a show on, and it was live from the Improv in New York, Young Comedians Night. And I went, oh, what's this? And I watched it, and I saw Jimmy Walker, Steve Landisberg, Lenny Schultz, Mike Preminger, Marvin Braverman, Dave David Brenner. Who else was on that? Trying to remember if there was anyone else. But they were all unknown commodities at the time. They were working hard. But Steve Landisberg, I had seen on Merv Griffin. I'd never seen Jimmy Walker before, and he was hysterically funny at that time. He was great. Who else was on that? Marvin Braverman.
Was
Anyway, when I got to the Comedy Store and I walked up, then all these guys were there. Lenny Schultz was on there. That's the other guy, the crazy Lenny Schultz. Oh, fucking crazy Lenny.
but
Anyway,
when you
but
yeah.
I walked up and then I'm just saying, I saw all these comedians and I'm like, wow, this is their jazz club. This is where they come and play. So, I mean, I felt, I really was intrigued and wanted to hang around and hang around and hang around.
So you didn't want to be a comedian at first. You were more of a crooner, or
I want to be a rock and roll singer, and
oh.
rock and roll, rhythm and blues, country rock. I mean, I could sing a lot of different things, but big band, all of that. I could sing just about anything. Because when I was growing up as a kid, we'd put music on in the house, but it wasn't just one, wasn't like a stack of Hank Williams records.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, let's see, Paul Anka, and then it would be a Bobby Rydell record and Chubby Checker, and then it would be a Jackie Wilson record, and then it would be a Farron Young record and another country record, and then it would be Bobby Darin, and it was just this, then a Bing Crosby, and this was just this eclectic. To me, it was just all music.
Mm-hmm.
You sing this way, you sing this way, you sing that this way, and it's like when you're a little kid, it's easier to learn other languages because you realize you talk to this kid this way, you talk to that kid this way, you talk to him this way. And that's true. It's much easier to learn a foreign language when you're a child.
Yeah,
And
because your mind is kind of a sponge when you're young anyway.
yeah, and you're
Um,
not really worried about where do the words go in the sentence. You just
yeah. So, so when you were doing stand up, you were also working the door or no?
yeah. Um, the first night I did stand up, I cursed a lot.
Mhm.
I was really nervous, and I came off stage. I finished with Richard Pryor doing the weather. That was my. If Richard Pryor was a weatherman, what
Hmm.
if the weatherman got sick and they can't get anybody but Richard Pryor? And I had I still have a tape of it. It was an amazingly well accepted set. I was a young skinny kid with an afro, 1976, and I did a lot of ethnic jokes, and the predominantly black audience was laughing their asses off because they understood what I was doing. The naive white guy. Because I said, look, I do a lot of jokes like this, but I understand there is a black problem. And I want you to know I'm from the ghetto. I'm very deeply into the black problem myself, very deeply into the black problem. As a matter of fact, many people would say I am the black problem, but I can't take all the credit, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
And they roared. They roared because they realized, oh, he's doing the naive white guy. Okay, cool. And I was 20 years old, but I did not know what else to do. So I did what I did in school, not to get beat up. I did what I did
Were you,
and make them laugh.
was your afro natural?
Yeah, yeah. Well, by natural, I mean, all you got to do to frizz my hair is if you curl, it'll stay that way for months. Because when I let my hair grow, when I really had like down to my shoulders, it always would grow down to here and then start going into ringlets. And
Mm.
it would be all ringlets. And like the rock and roll guys on Sunset Strip in the 80s would come up to me and go, hey, man, where do you get your extensions? I'm like, I ain't no extension. It's not. No, that's my hair. Oh, wow, man.
So, would you consider Mitzi Shore? Would you consider her sort of was she a mentor to you, or?
Yeah, she was a mentor to just about everybody there in one way or another. Look, the first night I performed, I thought because I cursed so much I was going to get thrown out of the club for good. The MC came over. Howard Taylor was his name, rest his soul. And Howard Taylor, see, you didn't know what was up because Howard Taylor always looked the same no matter what he was telling you.
Mhm.
So if you had won $3 billion in the lotto or your mother was killed in a fiery car crash, it wouldn't matter. He
Right.
would look at you and in a Howard Taylor fashion just go, the owner would like to see you.
The original poker face.
Just deadpan like somebody died. And we and so I went over to sit down and I didn't realize the woman that signed me up that night was the owner, Mitzi Shore. I didn't know how anything worked.
Right.
All I knew was I watched the comedians diligently night after night. I went up, I did my set, and she called me over and she said, how long are you doing stand up? I thought she was going to throw me out. And I said, well, that's the first time I ever went on. You are wonderful. Call in every week. I want you to do spots. So I'm calling in every week with 4 minutes of material following guys like Leno and stuff. And I'm bombing left and right. And I don't know what I'm doing. I really didn't know what I was doing. And I was working more at the Westwood Comedy Store, and I was a doorman. She fired me and threw me out, and then she brought me back, and then she threw me out, and then it was a really tumultuous year. I would say 2 years, 2.5 years, because uh, no, when did she tell me that? That was in January of '77. Yeah, so it was about a year, and I would say it was 21 months of horror. Because I it wasn't until the summer of '88 that I really began to put everything together. Thank you, the late great Mitch Walters, who was a prolific writer, very funny man, could write a joke in 3 seconds. He was amazing, and he helped me put my act together that summer. We worked on the phones, selling stationery to churches, telling them we were with U.S. disbursement, and you have an allotment of entitlement. I do? Yes. An allotment of entitlement.
Seemed like so many actors, musicians did those kind of sales. Like I think I heard
Yeah.
Johnny Depp was talking about it when he first came out here.
When I oh, great movies, The Prime Gig, Boiler Room, that's another good one. When I first came out here, I got my the first phone work I ever did was in the McGovern campaign, calling
Mm,
people to vote for
mm,
George McGovern
right.
at 16. So when I started out here, when I was first moved to California, my first actual job, which I took because I couldn't find anything. I didn't know where I would be driving around. I said, let me get something that'll give me gas money, and I can buy a hot dog. And so I took a job for like $78 a week. It was 35 hours a week with Pacific Blind Products. And we sold allegedly made products by blind people over the phone. And
This was
my
made by a
family,
blind person.
yeah, yeah, like blind people can make things. But I mean, some of the stuff, it was like, how are they making this? So, but anyway, I was there January, February, March, April, till April that in '75. And I quit. I couldn't do it anymore. I hated it. It was like being in school. There was a lot of young people there. The woman who was the manager was like an English teacher. I mean, she constantly sounded like I'd just gotten out of high school. I didn't want any more school. I wanted a year off
Right.
until I went to Harvard on the Hill, Rio Hondo in Whittier, a fine school if you really want to send your kids somewhere and it doesn't cost much and they can go and say they're in college, send them to Rio Hondo. They can say they're in college, and actually they wouldn't be lying. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, uh,
So, did you work with Mitzi in and at the Comedy Store until
yes,
she?
she the first night I was ever a doorman uh, was I showed up, and no, the first night I was ever like that I ever had to do MC and doorman uh was after I was here a couple of months, and the other doorman didn't show up, the MCs did not show up, two or three other comics didn't show up, and I wound up hosting the show. And it was one of the best things that ever happened because I realized I can host a show. I
Mhm.
know how to keep it going right. I watched Dave Letterman, how he was doing it. Keep the show going. You can be funny in between, but just keep moving, man. You don't talk, you don't do a set in between. You keep it going. And I had a really, really good time that night. So Mitzi let me MC a couple of more times, and I don't know what the hell happened, and I was on the outs again. Well, she was like that. I don't like his hair. So that would be the end of that.
She
And
got her. She had her little favorites, right?
yeah, but you see, I was one of her favorites. I wasn't, she didn't hate me or anything. She just would bust balls. I mean, it was just like she would decide, I'm going to bust balls with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. one week, and then a week and a half later, you're on in the main room. You know, I discussed it with another comedian one time, and he said, "Look, you know she's crazy," and I said, "Yeah, yeah. Look at us." I said, this is where all the broken toys go to get fixed. So, you know, sometimes the toy maker is in a bad mood. So yeah, I just didn't care, you know.
Did you know her son, Paulie?
Paulie very well. I know I used to answer the phones on Sunday afternoons when I
Mhm.
first was a comedian, or trying to be, at Mitzi Shore's house
Mhm.
on
In
what
Beverly
is
Hills
it?
somewhere?
Huh?
Was it in Beverly Hills somewhere?
Yeah, Beverly Hills on I can't think of the name of the street. It'll come to me. But uh it's on the corner. It's where Gil Turner's is in Sunset Boulevard, and you go
Oh
up
yeah, I know where that street is. Yeah.
yeah, that street. Delaney, not Delaney. It's something like that. And anyway, I would go up there on Sunday afternoons and answer the phones for 5 hours. In her house, she had an office in the house. It was a mansion that she had gotten in the divorce from Sammy Shore.
Mm.
And living behind her was Andy Williams, the singer, and to the other side was somebody else. And I'm like, wow, I just got out of high school in New Jersey, and Andy Williams' house is right there, and this guy's right there. And I was like, look at me, look at me. And
You're a big muckety muck.
yeah, I thought I did that for a while. Then I had to stop doing it because I was just too tired. I had a day job. I worked for my uncle 6 days a week, and I was pooped.
Hey,
I just couldn't do it anymore.
did you hear that Polly's producing or writing or starring in, or maybe all of the above? He's starring in a movie about Richard Simmons, or he's trying to get it made. I heard.
Well, yeah, he's been trying to do that for a while. He would be really good as Richard Simmons. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people shouldn't underestimate Paulie Shore. Paulie, when he first, him and his brother Peter ever came up to me, I was sitting in that office. I'm on the phone. I hang up the phone, and there's these two kids, and they go, "You got any cigarettes?" And I said, "No, I don't smoke. We want cigarettes." I said, "No, I'm not giving you any cigarettes, even if I had them." And Paulie was asking, and Peter goes, "Yeah, I'll tell my mom that you did things to us." And I said, "I'm sure
Unbelievable.
your mom would give me a raise if I did." And they just looked at each other, looked at me, and laughed and ran away.
You're like you gave it right back at him, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then and Paulie would come in, and he would do Lenny Schultz impressions and go, you know, I know you're working there, but do you want me to go fucking crazy? You know, and that's what Lenny Schultz would do on stage, and he would imitate all the comics. So he was destined to be a comedian and actor and stuff. But Paulie's a pretty sharp cookie.
Yeah,
I've worked with him on some projects, and he's
he seems like it. I heard him.
yeah, he knows what he's doing.
I think he was on Mark Maron actually. Maybe I heard him on. I'm not sure. He was on a podcast.
Probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark's show is great. I want to start. Well, there's two names I want to use for my podcast. One is the Smoking Bongo, and the other one is the Full Gainer.
Oh,
And I'm wondering, yeah, because that's the dive.
sure.
It's a play on words, and I'm wondering which one I should use. So
Tell
you
us.
know what? I'm going to tell everybody out there, if you like the Smoking Bongo,
Mm.
send me an email to thefullgaynor@yahoo.com, TheFullGaynor Or if you don't like, or if you like the other one, the Full Gaynor, send that to me at thefullgaynor@yahoo.com. I would like to know. Personally, I like the Smoking Bongo because you have no idea what it means. And I don't even know what it means. I was smoking when I heard bongos and I thought of it. I was,
I know.
I,
I like the full gainer though because it's also your email already. So
yeah. Well, I'm thinking of having two podcasts. One where we talk about wrestling and all kinds of crazy stuff,
Mm.
and one where I just rant and rave and rail, and that's the one no one will listen to.
I'm
Uh,
sure. I'm sure Craig would love to be on that one.
yeah, Craig loves ranting and raving, and
He's great. No, I mean I've known Craig for a long time, and he actually acted in a movie that I produced and wrote. It ended up not going anywhere because I had a falling out with the co-writer, co-producer. You know, it was a friend of mine and I. And
Did you shoot it?
Yeah, we shot it. And
what was the name of it?
Um, um, oh my gosh, I just almost forgot. It's called Searching for Ron Ficus. We were doing it. We were doing a play on words about Tom Likas.
Tom Likas. You know, let me tell you something. When it comes to broads, what you got to do is treat them like crap, because then they just keep coming back for more. Yeah. I'll be right back after this word from some testosterone product.
Yeah, we were kind of making fun of that. It was, searching for Ron Ficus. But unfortunately, the girl that was my friend, we had a falling out. But I hired Craig to do this. He played like a wacky neighbor who lived in the guest house kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Stereotyping. No, I'm kidding. I mean, typecasting.
No, he's great. He's great. You're shooting his show tomorrow?
Monday.
What do you...
Don't stress me out because I got a lot of words I got to remember. But by the time by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be done.
Well, he knows what he wants to get, so that's the first thing. I'm working on a project here with a fellow who goes on stage as Wacko the Clown, and I want to do 4.5 5-minute episodes called Wacko's World, and that's him now.
Oh, your partner's here?
No. Let's have that just go to voicemail. Yeah, Tom Likas, you're on the air. Yeah, Tom, I took this girl out and I bought her dinner and everything. And then she didn't like when I parked the van, out in the woods. Well, I think you should have just dumped her off, haven't you? But anyway, that's I'm sorry. Tom Likas used to come to the Comedy Store. He was real good friends with Sam. And regardless, and you know what? I don't hate the guy. He did what he did. I don't even know if he's on the air anymore or where.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe in a smaller town.
Yeah, but he really, the misogynistic stuff really exploded after Sam died because there was no other misogynistic comic, and he kind of took the helm. And he was a really nice guy when I met him a few times. He really was. It was all it's all a facade thing.
It was a shtick. It was a shtick, right?
Yeah, his shtick, yeah. And it's like politicians. They have a shtick. They say a lot of crazy stuff. Let's hope they never act on it.
True.
So,
true.
Yeah, I'm so glad that there won't be another election for like 40 years is what I think.
I get it. So did you know Sam Kinison very well?
Yes, I did. I knew Sam very well from the first day he came to California. And we were friends, and then we weren't for a short time because Sam would just go nuts and you'd, all right, I'll talk to you when I talk to you.
Right.
And we made up again. He came to the Comedy Store and he saw I was on HBO series First and 10 and then this movie and that movie and this thing and that thing. And about 2 months before he died, he came up to me and, hey man, how you doing? I see you're on HBO. Hey, oh, hey, And I said, yeah, all right, you want to be friends? And we hugged and everything. Because I didn't hate the guy or nothing. I knew there was a lot of things going on with the blow, the coke, and I also had found out, like, if you see the documentary I Am Sam Kinison, which I'm in it with, they interview me and Jay Leno and Bill Burr and Joe Rogan and a lot of people that didn't know him. And the people who really knew him were me, Dan Barton, Jimmy Schubert, Steve Epstein, who's in the movie, no relation to the other Epstein. Let me see who else is in it. There's Judy Tenuta knew him real good. The late great Judy Tenuta.
Oh, she passed.
Yeah, and there's I can't remember everybody, but there's a plethora. A plethora. Do I have a plethora of guns?
I hope not.
My ex-comedy partner was in that movie. Three Amigos. the late great uh, Freddie Asparagus. He played the bartender.
Oh,
He sings Little Buttercup, and the big heavy guy, Little Buttercup. And I remember he and we had a wrestling bit we would do. We had a whole show we would do together. We did sketches and stuff.
hmm.
Really funny. Uh, uh, and we worked with Paulie in La Jolla several times when he was doing his MTV show from the beach.
Hmm.
And we'd be down there for a week, going on the beach, doing our stuff, having a great time, getting paid, not having to even pay for a hot dog. I mean, Paulie paid for everything. And it was really a lot of fun. I mean, look, I'm one of the first people to get my name up on the Comedy Store wall, and I thank the late great John Fox because he he initiated putting names on the wall, and that's
Well, that's
another.
something to remember, right? I mean,
Yeah,
being from
yeah,
Petite, right? So,
yeah.
well, you have something going on today. You said someone was picking you up or something.
Yes, we'll be performing this afternoon,
Mm.
or actually early evening.
Where?
We'll be going to a little place we do here called the Music Box. It's a little joint where we go and kind of jam. Sometimes it's full, sometimes it's half full. Um, it doesn't really matter though. This is where we go and just kind of it's all the comics, local comedians and
Got
myself
it.
kind of do it for ourselves, and we have a good time. There's another place that I've been working with a fella named Chris Whitney,
Mhm.
otherwise known as Whittles, and that's tucson-comedy.com.
Mm.
And that is a website. I believe they're going to be changing the name because we got the name tucsonsbestcomedy.com.
Mm.
Sounds so much better.
Right?
And I wasn't I had gotten very ill in like 16. Uh, in 2016, I got TMJ.
Oh.
And when they finally diagnosed that after a year and got that down, I still had colors in front of my eyes and headaches. Turned out to be glaucoma. They couldn't figure that out.
Mm.
And so I went through that. And when I finally got back into stand up, I realized like I didn't realize how much I missed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like having it just taken away from you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really enjoying it again now. I've had a chance to reinvent and do a lot of rewriting and embracing. I wrote a lot of material about embracing my age because I'm 69 now and going on, I don't know, 28. It's stupid. And I've learned to embrace my age. I'm writing a lot of material about that. We do a place called the Mint on Tuesday nights here in town.
Mm-hmm.
It's an open mic. I MC it quite a few times a month, and it's a lot of fun to do that. I work out a lot of material there,
Do you
and
like do you like living in Arizona more than California, or do you miss California?
um, uh, yeah, I love living in Arizona.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I I don't. I like Arizona. It's okay. I mean, I made a lot of good friends here. I'll be honest.
Hmm. That's good.
Chris Whitney, like I said, my good friend Jarrett. Martin was very, very funny. A very funny comedian by the name of Tony Broom, who is legally blind. He can see you like when you're close up,
Mm-hmm.
but he is really funny. He's Hawaiian Mexican. Figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
He is hysterically funny.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few people here that uh, Dylan Adler's brother, Max Adler, is a very funny kid, very funny young man. It runs in the family. It's just there. I'm trying to remember who else. There's the lady comedians here. There's quite a few good ones. Roxy Mirari is really good. Um, oh gosh, what's her name? I can't remember. You know what? I've been here on and off for about 2 years, but I just can't remember everybody's name.
Sure.
But there are very talented people. Well, they're all over the place. Uh, but there's some really, really talented people that I've seen here. Oh, there's a young kid named Micah who's hysterical, and a young fella from Canada, Jordan Shane, who is just, I mean, this guy's doing it 8, 9 months, 10 months tops, and his writing is it's awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, I just worked with my good buddy Andy Huggins, who is tearing it up. He did a Don't Tell comedy special, and that has 3 million views now. Andy
Wow.
74. So see, I always felt if you really want to keep doing, it's not like playing football or baseball or basketball. I I don't feel I'm too old to be doing this. I never really stopped. I got sick, but I never really stopped. And Andy, God bless him, he's like an inspiration at 74. 3 million views. Come on, that's incredible. That's fabulous.
3
I mean,
million
you
views.
know,
What do you mean on what?
on the internet for Don't Tell, the Don't Tell comedy show.
Oh, okay. So he's got
Yeah.
like a YouTube comedy show. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a show called Don't Tell, and they do comedy shows in laundromats or restaurants or a tire place. You just don't tell anybody, and then they let people know by invite only. It's great. It's a brilliant idea.
That's a great idea.
Yes, it's the best idea since Patton Oswalt's The Comedians of Comedy. Because he didn't label them, they're just comedians of comedy. Okay, whether I don't even know who was on that other than Patton Oswalt, but it sounds a lot better than and it is. There's a lot of good people here.
Well, you know what, Joey?
Hey, quick impression. Robert De Niro, Silent Rob. Okay, that was it.
That was good. That was actually good. So tonight you're performing at what's the place? What's it called again? So
we're going to be doing a show. We're going to be doing some stuff over at the Music Box here in Tucson.
Music Box in Tucson. Okay.
Yeah, and it's the Music Box Lounge, and it should be. We usually have a really good time there, and like I said, it's a workout place. What I've been doing is I've been taking all the workout places I could do here, and I turned it into 4 or 5 sets a week, which got me back, sharpened up, got me back. A lot of guys, it's I have a good reputation as a comedian. The problem is that's great, but people don't know me now because it's been a long time. So that's fine. That's fine. I'm not looking to take over show business. So it's like I've told the different bookers and whatever, look, I'll feature, I'll do whatever, I want to get back out there. That's all.
Do you think can you still be on Craig's show, like through Zoom or something?
Yeah, I could do it through Zoom. If I'm in town, I might do something with him. But yeah, I've done some things through Zoom. When he was doing the weather, I did the weather, and then I did the movie review on the movie Traffic, and I just held it up and went, too much cursing.
Well, Joey, it's really been fun getting to know you, and hopefully I'll get to meet you in person one day, right?
Yes, that would be fabulous. And then we could go out to dinner or something, and everybody would look at me and go, is that a social worker with that guy?
Funny, very funny.
Yes, that's my job.
I know, you got to make them laugh.
Yes, of course.
Make them laugh. Okay.
Yes, if you.
All right, the real Gaynor, Joey Gaynor.
No, the full Gaynor.
Oh, the full Gaynor.
TheFullGaynor at yahoo.com. The Full Gaynor.
Which might be your podcast, The Full Gaynor.
Right. I want folks to just write in and say, hey, you should call it the Smoking Bongo or The Full Gaynor, or do both podcasts and do one with an assumed name. That's another possibility. Because I'm also was mentored by Andy Kaufman, so you never know what's going to come flying out of my brain.
Yeah. So. Well, yes, I want everyone to comment under this podcast. What should he call his podcast? His podcast.
Yes, comment on this fabulous podcast.
Yes, make a comment.
Yes, leave a comment. subscribe, and don't be adult sitting there going, I can't find a wrestling show. Just relax.
Yeah, right. Chillax. All right. Well, have a great show tonight, and
You too. Have a great weekend.
you
And
too.
thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure. It really
You're
was.
welcome. You're welcome. Knock 'em dead, and I'll be talking to you soon.
You got it. Have a great year, not just a great day. You
You
got
too.
it.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.